and it does require progress from many directions, and Niti Aayog's viewpoints and supports are absolutely essential. So we would like to know how, what do you see, possibilities do you see in hydrogen, and what we should be looking at. So thank you very much for being with us, and kindly elaborate your viewpoints. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
But my video is not. I think some restriction from your side. I think it's not opening.
What?
So kindly
Yeah,
check
we
that.
are not seeing you, but we are hearing you.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So they then work towards making you see, making us see you, but till then you can stop, and we are hearing very well, in fact.
Okay, ma'am. Respected Dr. Kirit Parikh, ma'am, and all the distinguished speakers for the session, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll start from the point of visualizing the overall energy basket for the country. In the Indian primary energy basket, 80% is the fossil base, and only 20% we are on fossil base. And the real problem lies that when we talk of the demand electrification, our total demand, only 20% is electrified as of now. So whatever and the renewable capacity we are adding for generating towards the all the plants, if they are all towards the generating electricity, we are going to address only the 20% of the component. The rest 80% still remain, and that is called the sectors which are still using the fossil-based energy resources, and these sectors need to be addressed properly, and that's where the theory of decarbonization of hard to abate sectors like the cement, steel, and the other sectors need to come into picture. The coal definitely is being used in the cement, steel, and other sectors. Similarly, oil products majority is for the transportation segment. Further, the natural gas used for the fertilizer and the refineries, even the city gas distribution for the cooking, and there are some needs also for the transportation for the gas. The how to decarbonize them is a critical question. That's where the role of green hydrogen comes. Now, there is again a question of what colors to be given to the hydrogen, whether green, blue, or what. I mean, but ultimately it all depends upon your carbon intensity in generating the hydrogen. Not only the hard to abate sector, but its application to the transport and its use in the power sector in the form of ammonium co-firing with the coal and gas-based power plants. This is something what the new emerging technology where the Japan is already running. They are developing the large turbines for capacity of something like 500 megawatt for blending of ammonia in the existing thermal power plants, and also they have a plan to blend the ammonia in their gas-based power generation. So that is the way people are thinking of decarbonizing the different sector. Conversion of hydrogen to methanol under CCUS project can also help, and there is a huge demand in the shipping sector to decarbonize. Hydrogen as a fuel cell for long-haul freight transportation or the passenger bus can be another option. India is uniquely placed where many projects can be implemented. I'm sure the refinery and the fertilizer industry will play a major role in demand creation. the way the development is happening, I'm sure the transport sector may pick up quickly as compared to the steel sector and the cement sector that we are targeting through the green hydrogen route. But the key question remains the economics of hydrogen. We always compare this green with respect to the gray hydrogen. Gray hydrogen is there is already established technology, and we are getting this at $2 or $3 per kg based on the reference price uh, of gas ranging from $8 to $15 or $16 per MMBTU. This is the kind of, I mean, that's the referencing. But globally, there is a good movement towards the low carbon hydrogen. And currently, there is a market of around 90 million tons per annum, and almost all of its carbon intensity gray or brown hydrogen. So annual production of low emission hydrogen, they are something the globally we are targeting to reach something like 38 million ton by 2030, and out of which 27 million ton uh, it is projected that it will be based from the electrolysis or the low emission electricity, and rest would be based on the CCUs and other kind of clean mechanism. It is also projected that this production of hydrogen may triple, and it will reach something around 270 to 300 million ton per annum by 2050. So, and that would certainly require something in the region of 3,000 gigawatt of electrolyzers and something like 6,000 gigawatt of renewable capacity based on the current technology. So this is something very, very alarming figures. Something needs to be analyzed and delve into detail. So therefore, the development of electrolyzer and high efficiency uh, electrolyzer is very, very critical if we have to really realize the dream of making the green hydrogen economy in the country. Another important aspect need to be seen is that globally there is a hike in inflation, and this would result in increasing capital and the financial cost, and may pose threat to the bankability of the project across the entire hydrogen value chain. And this might like to increase your capital cost for the project. And it is said that something like if there is an increase in 3% percentage point of the cost of capital, 3% increase in cost of your electricity, this gives rise to your 1/3 increase in the capital cost. So this is very, very sensitive as of now. Another important area remains in the hydrogen value chain is the regulation and the certification, and that may remain the key barrier to adoption, because in India we have targeted almost 3.7 million tons for the export. Unless we have a very strong tie-up with the international market and a strong international cooperation, it would be really very, very difficult for us to excel in this green hydrogen market. So several countries have started putting in place the regulation on the hydrogen and environmental attributes and developing associated certificate scheme. But these have some commonalities, but also a significant divergence is there. So that may lead to a market fragmentation. So this is something what we must recognize, and this is something what we need to really focus on. But still, India is doing good, and we are getting a lot of cooperation, and a lot of countries are approaching us to setting up their plant here, and we are also getting support in terms of offtake. And recently, ECME and the IHI of Japan has signed an agreement for offtaking the green hydrogen for their country. The various projects under joint credit mechanism can also help India to build up on joint sharing mechanism under Article 6.2 or 6.4. to trade the credit between the different countries. So these are the important aspects I just wanted to flag. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your insights, and Niti, I hope for your points, and especially because you covered a whole lot of issues that is challenging the country as well as issues of hydrogen in particular. Now, I'm very happy to have I think, that's why, by everybody. We have new format now, we've been choosing that in the interest of energy conservation and transport system overload. We have smaller gathering in the hallway and we are over there, some 99 people have joined. So I think it would be better. You should have been there in the first place. Mistake. So, you have been introduced already by the compare, and he is in charge of the hydrogen project of MNRE, and MNRE itself is charge of 5 million ton goal. So, how are you progressing, and what are the difficulties and challenges as well as the plans?
Thank you, Dr. Zulfi Parekh. Dr. Professor Pradeep Sarat Parekh, Dr. Rajnath Ram is there, and colleagues from a few of them I know personally. So it's a good gathering, and it's such a good topic to speak on, because I deal with this mission. It's very topical and very relevant. Am I audible?
Audible to the
Yes,
audience?
yes, you are audible.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, if we see then in the current century, I would say there are two dominating themes. So, decarbonization is one. So, it's now one of the central themes of all the international discourse, all discussions, whether multilateral, bilateral level, all G20, G7, COP negotiations, they mainly focus. One of the major points is how to decarbonize and mitigate the climate change effects. The second one, obviously, is digitalization. So we have seen over the last few years the progress that have taken place on the digital front with the mobiles and the artificial intelligence coming, and so many other things. So as far as decarbonization is concerned, so there are majorly, from my point of view, there are two pathways to decarbonize. The first one is you electrify. So whatever you can electrify, maybe the vehicles, cooking, the industries, whatever industries you can electrify, we should electrify. But then that electricity should be shouldn't be like thermal power and only the location of emission changes. So we are still emitting if we are using coal, gas, etc. Then you are emitting, but at a different location, may not be seen in the cities and the vehicles. You may not see the pollution, but pollution is happening somewhere else. So for that, we are increasing now our renewable energy in our electricity mix. So currently, in energy terms, we use around 22% of our electricity is from the renewable energy sources. And in next 6-7 years, by 2030, we have targeted that around 43-44% of our electricity should be from the renewable energy sources. So this has also been notified under the energy conservation. So it's a mandate. And for the industries, for the processes which we cannot electrify, they're hard to electrify or hard to abate, so there we need to look for other options. So currently, I feel hydrogen is one of the most promising options. And it's has been now very recently called as fuel of the future, and various publications around 50 odd countries around the world, they have come out with their own hydrogen strategies. We came out with our hydrogen mission in January of last year. So hydrogen, if you see, it's a very interesting element, as it's one of the most abundant element in the universe. It is colorless, odorless, but most reactive. The fossil fuels that we use are combination of hydrogen and carbon. If you burn them, then you get heat and you get carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas emissions. So that's how the fossil fuel burns. But if we burn hydrogen, then hydrogen plus oxygen, you get heat and warmth. So you don't have any greenhouse gas emissions. There are various colors of hydrogen. If you use blue, use fossil fuels, you do carbon capture, then the blue hydrogen. If you use nuclear power to produce hydrogen, there's the pink hydrogen. But our mission is focused on green. We use electrolyzers and also, in some cases, biomass to produce hydrogen. And we have consciously focused on green hydrogen because if you use fossil fuels, then produce blue hydrogen using carbon capture processes, then again we import around $170 billion of fossil fuels per annum. So we are dependent on imports. So that is not a long-term option for us. Long-term option for us is the green hydrogen variety. So here we have enough water, we have enough sun, wind, the renewable energy ecosystem is quite well developed. So that way we are quite well placed on the green hydrogen. So under our hydrogen mission, we are targeting 5 million metric tons of production. We'll be needing around 125 gigawatt of renewable energy. We'll require around 60 to 100 gigawatts of electrolyzers. Try to avoid 50 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions per annum. And we expect to save around 1 lakh crore rupees worth of imports with the fossils that we can have. The overall investment that's required under this mission is 8 lakh crores. So, and the kind of jobs, around 6 lakh jobs, we expect that will be generated, direct jobs will be generated in the mission. So, we in around 6-8 months back, we had come out with our own hydrogen definition of 220 CO2 equivalent emissions per kg of hydrogen. And then we also came out with R&D. So the current status is that under there's various, in fact, schemes under this mission. Mission 20,000 crores over next years. But the major scheme here is we provide incentives to reduce the cost of hydrogen. So as compared to gray hydrogen, it's almost 2 to 3 times more costly. So how do we reduce the cost of green hydrogen? So we have incentives for manufacturing of electrolyzers under this scheme and for production of hydrogen. So this is around 18,000 of crores of incentives are there under this scheme. And so we ran the first round of bids. We invited bids under the mode one of the scheme, where the end users for the bidder to decide. It's not end user specific. So here we awarded 412,000 tons of hydrogen. Incentives will be provided to around 10 companies who qualified. And for electrolyzers as well, we came out with the first tranche. So we awarded 1,500 megawatt of electrolyzers. Incentives will be provided over next 5 years. So in effect, this is around 7.5 gigawatt of electrolyzers that we are incentivized. For hydrogen, it would be 412,000 over a period of 3 years. So it would be around 1.2 million of hydrogen. So this is the first tranche. So now we will be coming up with the second tranche for electrolyzers. Again, there is still scope for around 1,500 megawatts. So we'll again come out with the second tranche for electrolyzers and for hydrogen. So in the meanwhile, we also came out with another scheme where we have the end use is specified. So we have allocated around 2 lakh tons of hydrogen, green hydrogen for the refinery sector, and around 550,000 tons of green ammonia for the fertilizers. So these are sector specific schemes. Their incentives are also fixed. So these are in processes. So these bids are will be invited very shortly. These are the two major sectors where currently India uses hydrogen, fertilizers and refinery. But there are other sectors, other potential sectors like road sector, like mobility sector, like steel sector, shipping sector. So we also come out with the pilot projects for use of hydrogen. So, these schemes are already running, and I think the call for proposals for mobility sector is already out. So we will be providing support for setting up of dispensing stations initially, as well as the viability of funding for running of trucks, buses, four-wheelers on field. For steel sector, again, we'll be providing incentives on how to use hydrogen in various processes like DRI process or blast furnace process. That is also schemes that is heavily out. And the bids and the calls of proposals is invited. For shipping sectors, we'll be providing support for retrofitting of 2 ships to run on green methanol. That's currently what's being found viable. So and also for setting up of certain bunkering facilities. So there are other components of the mission as well, like R&D schemes, or R&D scheme is about will be launched very soon. So there we will be providing incentives for carrying out various research and development activities like seawater electrolysis and how to reduce the cost of electrolyzers, how to basically improve the safety processes. We cover all the sectors: production, applications, the safety aspects. All are covered there. Then we are also coming out with a skill sector scheme because 600,000 jobs will be created. People will be trained and retrained. So we'll coming out with this scheme for skilling as well. This will be in coordination with Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship and the Skill Council for the jobs. We are also coming out with a scheme for testing facilities. These are electrolyzers as such, they need to be tested. There are other tests also to be performed, safety aspects also to be taken care of. So this scheme is already when we come out very soon. They're all in final stages. Uh, so, so as far as these are all basically, if you can say, these are the supply side incentives. But for the demand side incentives, we have the two sectors are identified, refineries and fertilizers, but we are also looking at export. So we are in talks with a large few countries, regions, geographies. We are in talks with EU, Japan, Singapore, Korea, and a few others on Article 6.2 of the Paris Agreement. So how we can promote offtakes from our companies. So very recently, as Dr. Ram said, one of our companies signed an agreement with a Japanese company to supply green steel. So and there are a few other companies that have done similar kind of arrangements. So since the cost of renewable energy is very competitive because of the very well developed RE ecosystem, and we have enough water. So that way, cost of electrolyzer, because we are supporting electrolyzer manufacturing, so that is also good contribution in the cost of the green hydrogen molecule. So overall, we feel that we'll be very cost competitive as far as exports. So certain other countries, they have also announced their incentives. USA is providing incentives to the dollar of to the tune of $3 per kg. EU is providing incentives. Then Australia, Japan, Korea, but many of these countries would be they have already announced that they will need to import. So our companies are in touch with them. Our ministries are also in touch with them. How we can facilitate the exports of the green molecule. And then another piece that comes in here is the issuance of carbon credits. So for that, we have already launched a carbon credit trading scheme, and we are finalizing a registry for these carbon credits. The carbon credit, it moves, they will go along with the hydrogen. So as far as Dr. Ram mentioned, regulations, codes, standards are very crucial. So we are working on that. We have a subgroup, working groups. So in the first set of recommendations, around 100 odd recommendations were made by that subgroup. So we have adopted 95. So sorry, 65. 65 recommendations have been adopted by various agencies like BIS, PESO, PNGRB, OISD. So those standards are already in place. So now we are working on the second set of recommendations. So some of these recommendations were there already international practices in place. So we have adopted some. So in addition, I would say we should also look into use of hydrogen in other sectors like cement, aluminum, where there is a fair amount of potential. So for reaching 5 million metric tons by 2030, and then our targets are to reach around 25 million tons by 2047. So, and then it will increase like exponentially. To my mind, it's we have a great potential as far as production, usage, and exports of hydrogen. We are also coming up with the hydrogen hub system. So these hydrogen hubs would be majorly around the coast, and we are in coordination with the Ministry of Foods and Shipping. So they already identified a few hubs. So we are working on how to provide incentives there. And overall, if we see around 7.5 million tons worth of announcements have been made by different companies in various states. So there are various stages. Some of the states are also providing their own kind of incentives on renewable energy, on land, on registry of land. So their state governments have also taken up, the ecosystem is developing at the state level. So, I think these projects would come in the states. So many of the state governments, they have their own hydrogen policies. Odisha, UP, Gujarat, Maharashtra, MP. So they have all come up, Punjab. So they have all come out with their own versions, own policies on green hydrogen. And the incentives that are being provided are in addition to the central incentives. In fact, I went through the report that has been published, and very informative, especially on the various three kind of scenarios that have been worked out. And we definitely require a lot of critical minerals going forward. We have to develop that supply chain of critical minerals, of nickel, of the platinum grade materials. So very important. There are various recommendations of renewable energy as well. So I would like to congratulate you on coming out with this comprehensive report and very succinct. So thank you very much. And these are some of my views on hydrogen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think we need to have opportunity to ask people have been very rare, and you have already covered so much, and you have been very busy talking about things so much that we thought about it. But till then, what is the challenges perhaps, and where do you see the challenges?
So yes, there are a number of challenges. And, so some of these we are trying to work out through our incentives. So electrolyzer is the key machine. So how the different sets of electrolyzers, the alkaline, the PEM, the solid oxide, the anion exchange membrane. So when we come out with a bid, so we made these to be technology agnostic. So any technology can provide a could have bid. And we also kept a separate bucket for domestically developed systems. So then when I mean, the critical minerals that are part of the electrolyzers, you know, the platinum grade material, that the supply chain we need to work on, and the Ministry of Mines is already working on it. So that's one part. Second part is the transmission network that would be. So a large amount of electricity would be transmitted. So we have already started working on the transmission lines required. And we are in touch with Ministry of Power, and city power, so and extra power that would be required. So from this year onwards, we are now coming up with bids of 50 gigawatt of renewable energy each year. So that in some way would cover some of the renewable energy requirements. But the key requirement here would be how to run the plants with higher capacity load factors. So plant capacity. So here we are also focusing on the renewable energy round the clock. So some of the pumped PSP projects that are coming up. And your demand, because the cost is initially is quite a bit of differential, so how to bridge that cost ultimately will boil down to the cost.
Demand is there.
So demand is already there. We are currently using around 6 million ton of hydrogen per annum. So by we expect that by 2030 it would increase to around 12-13 million. So that way demand is there, but the costing is initially high. So all our efforts are how to bridge down this cost. So costing in terms, then 60% to 70% of the cost of production of hydrogen is the cost of renewable energy. So how to bring down that cost of renewable energy? How to provide the transition? So these are also some of the challenges.
If I may ask a follow-up on that. So thank you firstly, excellent overview of all the incentives. I have two questions primarily interlinked on the cost side of things. So what, according to your ballpark hydrogen, capital cost for a hydrogen plant, not talking just electrolyzers, and how much do you think can these incentives that we have discussed across electrolyzers, other state level incentives, how much do they make a dent on those costs? Is it 10%, 5%? Is there any preliminary assessment?
So, if you want to set up a 1 million ton of plant, green ammonia, then it's very capex heavy. So you would require around $40,000 for 1 million ton. So, but here 70% of the cost is the cost of renovation and the cost of electrolyzer.
That's correct.
So through our incentives, we can provide, for example, overall incentives on an average are rupees 40 rupees per kg of hydrogen. And for electrolyzers, it will be in first year, we provide around 4,400 rupees per kilowatt of the incentive. So it will make it up. But then again, there are incentives which are, there are certain policy interventions that we are trying to do. So first one is how to reduce the cost of panels. Cost of panels, then equipment. So we are working on that. And so through our policy incentives, we are looking at making a dent to the tune of 25 to 30%. So how can we are almost in a final stage of that. And then many of the states, they are providing incentives on the renewable. So Odisha has a scheme of providing on per unit of energy. So I expect that our cost will be very, very competitive when we compare with other parts of the world, because across the geographies, either you don't have the overall ecosystem of renewable energy, or the transmission lines are difficult to set up. So they are these kind of, and or the overall cost of manufacturing is high.
And so
I
like,
think you have to hear, this is for presenting our report first, so there will be a
Okay.
question answer afterwards.
okay,
This was just to make sure, this.
Thank
So kindly listen to her also, that's Angela's presentation for the entire report is very interesting work also. And thank you.
Moving on to the technical session, chaired and moderated by Professor Kirit Parekh, Chairman of IRADe. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor Kirit Parekh, who is a visionary in the field of sustainable development. He was honored with Padma Bhushan, India's third highest civilian award, by the President of India in March 2009, and shared the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007 given to IPCC authors.
Okay, let me just make a couple of minutes of introductory remark. We have really done a study which is largely showing how you supply this much of hydrogen, and it looks at various options here, including the amount of electricity needed under different assumptions. And I think this would certainly be very useful in deciding what it is. And we are seeking from here the stakeholders, in a sense, people who are working in it, their reactions and their suggestions as to how we can improve this study. So without taking any more time, I ask the author, my colleague, Dr. Anjana Das, to make the presentation. Yeah.
And how to move this?
How many people are? So we have Central Electricity Authority, we can hear that.
Yeah, we have people from really, people working in different areas. We have people from Central Electricity Authority. We are expecting people joining from Torrance, from Reliance, from IIT, Mumbai and IIT Delhi and so on. I think so. We have also from Department of Chemical Engineering from IIT Delhi also there. Professor Rajan Varshney from NTPC is there. So we have a mix here of people who have really been involved in the hydrogen projects of various kinds, and people who are really pushing this whole hydrogen thing forward. So I think it would be very useful to see their whatever experience they have and whatever insights they can bring.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all distinguished participants attending in person and online. I present this roadmap for green hydrogen development in India. So we define green hydrogen by with hydrogen that is produced with water electrolysis using renewable electricity, primarily from solar PV and wind onshore. So in no. Can we put it in slide mode? Okay. Yeah, thanks. National Green Hydrogen Mission (NGHM) was launched by Government of India in January 2023, aiming to make India the global hub for the production, usage, and export of green hydrogen and its derivatives like ammonia and all, and also aiming to make India as technology and market leadership in the green hydrogen field chain. With this background, we undertook this project with the objective of contributing to strengthen the Indian policy and decision-making process with relevant quantified technical and economic information on the development of the green hydrogen fuel chain and also interconnected Indian power system over the period 2030 to 2070. So we have explored a variety of questions starting from like, for example, NGHM, National Green Hydrogen Mission, has a production target of 5 million tons by 2030 and assumed demand beyond that. What would be the requirement of electrolyzer capacity by technology? Green electricity requirement in the green hydrogen production, green power infrastructure requirement like capacity and storage. India's conventional electricity demand is very large. I mean industry, house, agriculture, etc. So we also introducing hydrogen production will demand for electricity again. So we also analyze the impacts on grid in terms of generation, storage, and capacity. We also looked into obviously investment potential on electrolyzer and power infrastructure, which includes generation capacity, TMD, and storage infrastructure. As I said, India's conventional electricity demand is very high. So we explored what would be the maximum green hydrogen potential of the grid because it will put pressure on generation resources also, like we have limited wind onshore or offshore, solar PV, etc. So we explored the green hydrogen potential at different prices. And also we examined briefly the viability of hydrogen storage to provide seasonal grid flexibility. In addition, we look into hydrogen, other aspects of the hydrogen fuel chain, like transportation and storage, electrolyzer manufacturing, critical minerals, etc. So we applied an integrated least cost modeling framework that combines Indian power system and hydrogen fuel chain. Briefly about the model, it covers the period 2020 to 2075. Demand for conventional electricity demand, I mean conventional electricity demand for as in electricity demand for industry, agriculture, houses, etc. And green hydrogen demand, these are exogenous to the model. A large menu of power generation and storage technologies, load variation, and also intermittency of supply sources. These are all modeled. We have considered two electrolyzer technologies, alkaline electrolyzer and PN, because these are currently at commercial scale and reliable amount of data available on these two technologies. Other technologies are at low level of technology readiness level, and data are not so well available. So for the timing, we have not considered other technologies like solid oxide, etc. We have imposed some upper bounds on certain the power generation resource potentials like solar PV, wind onshore, wind offshore, etc. Some of them potential are not not exactly available, but we have to put some upper bound because it's a least cost model, so it will go there where cost is minimum. So this is the electricity demand, conventional electricity demand. This does not include a demand for hydrogen production, electricity for hydrogen production. So this has been calculated taking into account GDP growth rate and GDP electricity elasticity. This green hydrogen demand we have taken from demand different sources. For example, 2030, this 5 million ton, it is a NGHM target. Then 29 million tons in 2050 coming from NITI Aayog RTI report, and 2070 demand of 50 million tons, it is coming from a study carried out by FICCI and Deloitte. So I show you the different electrolyzer parameters we have modeled. This is the technical and economic parameters, for example, efficiency, then life of stack, etc. Then capex, operating and maintenance costs, and so on. These are modeled, okay? So we formulated three scenarios, starting with a scenario where it is grid only meet conventional electricity demand and no hydrogen production. So in this scenario, we have assumed no new coal power plant after 2035, and government policy of adding NFOs, non-fossil sources of 500 gigawatt is included. Indian grid is grey and going to be grey for some years to come. So we have developed two green hydrogen scenarios where based on the how green electricity will be supplied to the electrolyzer. So GRN green grid scenario, it is structured in such a way. Grid, normal Indian power system grid, meets electricity demand, conventional electricity demand that I have already spoken to, like industry, household, etc. And then there will be separate green grid for green hydrogen production, which includes solar PV, wind onshore plants, and coupled with battery storage, and exclusively connected with electrolyzers through separate T&D network. This green grid will feed the grid, but otherwise it is not possible. Grid cannot feed a green grid electrolyzer because grid can supply gray electricity. We have also another scenario. This is site-based infrastructure of green hydrogen. So in this case, Indian national grid again meets electricity demand, but there will be site-based solar PV plants, battery and electrolyzer. They are co-located at different sites to produce green hydrogen. And in this case also site-based power infrastructure can provide electricity to the grid if it is surplus and if it is economic, but it is not other way around because grid cannot supply electrolyzer because it does not ensure green electricity. Okay, now I present a couple of results, the slides. So starting with this one, it shows electrolyzer capacity, electricity requirement, power infrastructure in different scenarios. So let us focus on 2030, where NGHM target has to be met of 5 million tons. So what is happening? So if you see electrolyzer capacity requirement in two scenarios, it's ranging from 60 to 100 gigawatt. Electrolyzer capacity is determined by the electricity supply mode, renewable electricity supply mode. Obviously, when it is a solar PV, it is duration short time. And if it is a green grid, we have a hybrid system. Solar with wind serves electricity longer period of time. So, and it needs about 257 terawatt hour of electricity to produce 5 million tons of green hydrogen. So this is an additional new demand, okay? Currently, industry consumes something around, I think 600 terawatt of electricity at this moment from utility. So this is an additional, new demand. So, and regarding green power infrastructure, so it will require about 150 to 155 gigawatt of green power capacity. For green grid, it is about 88 gigawatt of solar PV, 66 gigawatt of wind, and for site-based, it is 150 gigawatt of solar. Let us see 2050. So 2050, we took the NITI Aayog projection of 29 million tons of green hydrogen. So to supply that, it needs electrolyzer capacity will be in the range of 462 to 600 gigawatt. And green electricity requirement will be 1320 terawatt hour. This is only for hydrogen production. And it is, I think, 20% less than what all India is consuming at this moment. And green power infrastructure to supply electrolyzer will be 923 to 1075 gigawatt. And in this year also, it will require storage 29 to 114 gigawatt. Next, I talk about investment, average annual investment. So let us focus on 2025-30 again to see the NGHM target. So I am showing you here annual average investment. So starting from 2025 to 2030, India needs between 27 to 32 billion USD every year. Out of that, 8 to 14 billion will be electrolyzer and 13 to 24 billion will be green power infrastructure. Between next decade, 2031 to 50, 20 years, investment requirement will be annual investment requirement will be in the range of 23 to 28 billion USD because by that time electrolyzer capex has fallen, solar PV wind also fallen, and electrolyzer investment will be annual investment will be 6 to 7 billion, and green power infrastructure 16 to 22 billion USD. So Indian electricity demand is very high, as I said. So when you introduce green hydrogen, so green power resources needs to be shared between electricity for the conventional electricity demand and green hydrogen. So we wanted to see what is the optimal allocation. For 2030, we have given total solar PV capacity as 390 gigawatt. So in this green grid scenario, allocation will be 88 gigawatt will go to green hydrogen production and 300 gigawatt will be go to the only grid which is producing electricity. I also want to mention that green grid electricity also can feed grid but not other way around. In 2050, we have given 2500 gigawatt of solar PV potential, and out of that breakup will be 844 gigawatt will be going to green hydrogen and 1656 gigawatt will be going to only grid that produces only electricity. So you can see the range of potential we need. For just example, we have I think 75 gigawatt of solar PV at this moment. Regarding wind onshore, about 150 gigawatt we have given as a upper bound for 2030. Breakup will be 66 and 84. And for 2050, we have given 600 gigawatts and breakup will be 79 and 521 between green hydrogen and grid. And this 1050 is the as per MNRE now. This is the potential available in the country. That is the assessed potential which is appeared in. I think there is one National Institute of Wind Energy. In their website, wind potential has been reported as 1050 gigawatt. This is the scenario when only this is the sideways scenario when only solar PV is being used. So between 390 breakup is 150 to 240 solar PV, and because there is no wind has not been applied here. And in 2050, it is 1075 gigawatt of solar PV will be required for hydrogen production, and 1425 gigawatt will go to the grid. So I show you the total investment, which includes the building green hydrogen infrastructure like electrolyzer as well as all green capacity connected with electrolyzer, At the same time, also power infrastructure like Indian power system, which includes generation, transmission, distribution, and also storage. So no H2BAU where hydrogen is not produced. So that then power, if we see that 2021-30, which is an important year, a period. So power sector needs investment of about $500 billion, right? So it is only producing electricity, only meeting conventional electricity demand. So if we introduce hydrogen, so you can see there will be about increase in investment by 150 to $200 billion in this period. And if you see the next 20 years, 2031 to 50, so power sector, without doing anything on hydrogen, they needs about $2,008 trillion. And if hydrogen is introduced, investment will be between 3 to 3.2 trillion. And this is the energy and green hydrogen supply cost. This is the total cost between 2021 to 70, just to can be used as an indicator. So when it is only electricity, cost is 9.3 trillion USD. And if hydrogen is introduced, depending upon how infrastructure is built, cost will be enhanced by 21 to 32%. I have told Indian electricity demand is very high, right? So Indian power system has to meet electricity demand for industry, household, agriculture, etc. So we have also looked into, and at the same time, resources are limited, right? So we have also looked into what would be the maximum hydrogen potential at different prices. To do this, what we have done, in this case, hydrogen demand is not exogenous, but price is exogenous, and model calculates cost. And if price is greater than cost, model produces hydrogen. If price is less than cost, that means it's making losses, so hydrogen is not produced. So if you see 2030 at $3 per kg, there is no hydrogen production. That means cost is more than 3. Okay. So if at $5 per USD, we can see that it meets almost the NGHM target. So that is the cost, and in future cost declines. So in 2050 at $3, we can see large amount of potential between 7.3 to 12 million tons of green hydrogen possible. You should remember that the system is also meeting large electricity demand for other purposes. At $1.5, range is 0.7 to 4.5 million tons. $1 is at in the close distance. It is little difficult now, but it will be achieved in the long run. We also looked into the use of hydrogen because in future when electricity power system becomes more intermittent, so a lot of flexibility, a lot of storage will be required. So we also looked into the economics of hydrogen storage as a seasonal storage, how it works to meet grid flexibility. So we assume not much of work is done here right now. For example, Japanese company Kawasaki and then GE, Siemens, they are working on hydrogen-based turbine. So we took some data based on some MIT paper. So capex of hydrogen-based turbine, you can see we have assumed 1271 gigawatt USD per kilowatt and so on. We have used also hydrogen storage cost from BNEF data. And based on these assumptions, we find at this moment, the hydrogen as a seasonal storage is not viable. We need more investigation on that. So I summarize here. So you can see to meet NGHM target, we need 60 to 100 gigawatt of electrolyzer capacity, and there will be increase of 6 to 8 times by 2050. Substantial amount of green electricity and power infrastructure will be needed, and a substantial amount of annual investment will be needed from today to 2030, 27 to 32 billion USD every year. Then prima facie, we see site-based green hydrogen production infrastructure is cheaper than building a green grid. Then hydrogen production potential of 5 million tons can be achieved with whatever we see now at a cost of between $4 to $5 per kg, because at what we see at a cost of 3.5, model starts, hydrogen production. Power system starts hydrogen production. And 1 USD is possible, but in the long run, at the current level of assumption or data, okay? So, so introducing green hydrogen demands substantial amount of additional power generation and storage capacity and investment that we conclude from this analysis. So we looked into other segment of the fuel chain also, transportation and storage. So hydrogen transportation and storage is challenging because of the gas characteristics like low density, then flammability, etc. It can be transported and stored in that form of gaseous hydrogen, liquid or chemical form like ammonia. So transportation infrastructure internationally used like pipelines, compressed gas cylinders stacked in tube trailers, blending with natural gas and so on. Storage options include storage tanks, and then for large scale storage, maybe natural underground storage in salt caverns. Several studies report transportation and storage costs, but it has a quite large range. So I pick up from Bloomberg report. So storage cost, it reports about $19 per kg, small volume of gaseous state, which has a possibility of going down to 17 cents per kg by in future. International Energy Agency reports the for long distance transportation pipeline cost less than 1500 kilometer will be about $1 per kg, and for local distribution cost with tube trailer cost will be $2.9 per kg. So okay, so what do we see national green hydrogen mission? What is India doing about transportation and storage? Mr. Jadhav has already given some the points on that. So at this moment, in the beginning of the in market development, green hydrogen market development, natural green hydrogen missions stresses on localized green hydrogen production to avoid storage and transportation challenges. It is focusing on industry, hydrogen production at industrial sites. Several hubs are already explored. So this is so India needs to look into cheap storage options at various scales and needs to be accessed. India is the third largest consumer and producer of ammonia because of its large nitrogenous fertilizer industry. So it has good experience on hydrogen storing and handling. It does not have much of experience in transportation because it is all ammonia, mostly their on-site production and consumption. But India can look into, with its experience on ammonia, India can look into the option for transportation storage perhaps. India has 23,000 kilometers of natural gas pipeline, 12,000 is under construction. So repurposing of existing natural gas pipeline and blending perhaps would be good thing to examine in the beginning of the hydrogen infrastructure development. Given its large, the large investment requirement, complexity in terms of safety, regulation, etc., government involvement is very important, and government perhaps can partner with the private sectors and other countries to build the transportation and storage infrastructure. We look into the electrolyzer manufacturing also, as NGHM aims to make India a leader in technology and manufacturing of electrolyzers. So we have already seen India has a large domestic market potential for electrolyzer capacity, and large demand in the domestic market itself. And global market has been assessed as 23 million by 2028. So we see government, the number of government supports in, I give you some list here, like creating demand, development technologies, then financial supports, etc. So already Mr. Jadhav has mentioned in under the SITE program, about 500 million USD is provided to the manufacturing of electrolyzers. In July 2023, India invited the 1.5 gigawatt of electrolyzer bid under PLI scheme, and it has got a good response. But there are some issues in building supply chain like critical minerals, skills and technologies and so on. I covered the critical mineral issues also. So what we saw, the energy system powered with clean technologies are more mineral intensive than the early earlier conventional one. So what are the critical minerals? Critical minerals are those characterized with supply viability due to lack of availability and or concentration of resources, concentration of production, processing in certain the geographical locations. So those makes some of the minerals as vulnerable and critical. So since India aims to be a market leader in electrolyzer manufacturing, so electrolyzer needs some of the critical minerals. For example, alkaline electrolyzer needs about 1,000 tons of nickel per gigawatt. In addition, it needs zirconium, aluminum, and steel. And PM electrolyzer needs even precious materials, platinum group of elements like platinum, iridium, etc. We have also calculated how much critical minerals will be needed if India wants to meet its electrolyzer in requirement domestically. So what are the issues? India import entire 100% of all these minerals. So electrolyzer needs nickel, and for in Indonesia and Australia together have about 42% of nickel resources, and Indonesia is responsible for 60% of extraction, whereas China has share of 60% in processing, followed by 30% of Indonesia. And 90% of the reserves of platinum group lie in South Africa. So what is India doing? India has taken several measures on critical mineral as per available public information. So Ministry of Mines has introduced a series of policy initiatives, reforms, etc. in the year 2023. There, in November 23, there was an auction of 20 critical mineral blocks. And so India is also collaborating with other countries. Critical material was important topic in G20 Indian presidency. One company like Khanij Videsh India Limited was formed in 2019 to whose the job is to secure critical minerals in other countries. There is also India has also forged bilateral and multilateral several bilateral and multilateral partnerships in this area. But what we see current focus is more on lithium, cobalt, and to some extent nickel. These are all related to battery storage. So needs to focus perhaps on electrolyzer related minerals. And also we see there is a need to accelerate R&D and the international partnerships on electrolyzer technology, so that to look for those electrolyzer technology perhaps with less dependence on critical minerals. So I finished my presentation here. So thank you very much.
One
I
small clarification. I used the sentence, natural gas pipelines to be blended. Blending, you have used the word. What do you mean by blending?
Okay. So there is natural gas.
Pipeline.
Hydrogen is no, not pipeline. We have so much pipeline network, so which is serving natural gas in many sectors. So hydrogen can be blended with the natural gas. It is being tried. In fact, in India also Torrent is doing that. We will hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In all these, the tool is there and the data is there in front of you. So if you think that something should be not $10, but $15, then you can say that, and that could be another scenario.
Okay. Good.
So can we just move now to the discussion? But first I would like to invite people who have really been working in it, the stakeholders. So Mr. Rajput is here from the Central Electricity Authority, and he may have something to say on this. So please, particularly because there is a large implication for power system, grid capacity, and the associated transmission requirement.
Good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon, all dignitaries. I'm really honored to be here. First of all, the transmission system as of now is adequate. If we talk of the 400 kV and above, transmission system, it is quite robust. And it also has the N-1 contingency. Suppose one circuit fails, the power to be supplied of the alternative means. So that is there a huge transformation. That is the transformer is the essential part for electricity transmission right from the generating station up to the consumers. So hydrogen supply to the hydrogen plant is no exception. We will be needing transformers more. As we are talking of the critical elements, there is a critical metal here, which India is not producing at all. That is basically cold rolled, grain oriented electrical steel that is used for the manufacturing of the transformer. The core is built of the CRGO steel and over that winding is made. So core constitutes about 35% cost, 30 to 35% cost of any transformer. Irony over that is that there are only 15 factories worldwide of the CRGO manufacturing. And they are controlled by 12 to 3 big players, 12 to 13 big players. So that is one. The renewable, say India is having large resources. Solar installation is also quite good. Rajasthan, Jaisalmer area, we can have lot of solars. Wind in the coastal areas. But thing is that these are seasonal and we have to build the transmission system for those. One more important aspect is, which we are forgetting in this green hydrogen, green grid and other things, the energy efficiency of the gadgets and the energy efficiency particularly of the electricity distribution system. Lot of losses do take place still there. Technologically, it is possible to reduce the losses and to bring them to the level of South Korea or Japan. This is possible. So there we have to work simultaneously because it has to be an integrated planning and simultaneous efforts are to be made. We are trying our best and the plans are also there. National Electricity Plan draft on the transmission is also on the website. People can offer the comments. We would be taking them in a positive spirit. A time will come, and this is my personal opinion. When 2050 and 2070 we are talking, and lot of demand of the say hydrogen will be there. Such a long-term demand estimation at this stage is not possible. Maybe some other technology might come, and hydrogen would be a prominent source of an energy carrier because it's the fuel of the future. But we have to work on other technologies simultaneously. Energy storage and thermal energy storage are some of the technologies, and we are forgetting the geothermal as well as waste to energy. Those are the need of the hour that geothermal we should tap. It is 24/7. It can supply the heat to the local surroundings because geothermal potential are mostly in the hilly regions. And it can supply electricity to our defense forces and to the grid also. So these two things, waste to energy, why I am talking on every forum, though it is under Swachh Bharat mission, but incidentally we get some amount of electricity out of it. So we have to create many infrastructure in terms of the health and other amenities if this huge dump of the waste are there. Our efforts would be that these be done away with by combusting in the advanced quality of the boiler, and we get some of the plants visited by us are, though they are limited in numbers, running at 90% PLF. Small capacity, say 7.5 or 10 megawatt, but running at 95. The energy from them is also termed renewables. That also need to be tapped. So it will serve two purposes because green hydrogen, why we are doing, so that we meet the targets for energy transition. So that way will be the energy transition. We have not talked anywhere about the safety aspects and what safety gadgets will be required and what safety kits will be required for the people involved in production, handling, and the end use of the hydrogen. Pipe versus cylinder transportation, as rightly told by Madam, I think existing pipelines, something has to be done I do not know, the experts, metallurgical expert can tell, but certainly when it is flown through the pipe, it will be the cause of the metal embrittlement because of the typical characteristics of the hydrogen. Transportation of hydrogen in cylinder form is not advisable. It should be transported in the form of the green ammonia. And when we talk of greening the islands, green ammonia is one of the options which could immediately be taken up, and we can get it of the diesel generator set of the high capacity in the islands of Andaman and also in the Lakshadweep. Aerodynamic turbines based on the green ammonia are available. Madam named three, one more are there. Mitsubishi also manufacture that type of the turbines. And as in every business, the investment versus returns are to be seen. Renewable at present is okay, cheaper, and because no fuel is required to burn. But the transmission cost is also there, which they are enjoying the waivers at present.
Thank you.
Yeah, transmission, just one more thing is, and when we are going to supply to a 4,000 megawatt demand requirement of the green hydrogen plant, we have to develop the system not only from the central grid, but also from the state grid side. Because what they are planning is that they will be banking the power during the daytime, whatever is the axis, and maybe during the night time when the solar is not there, they will be drawing back. And further, we have to find the market, the long-term market, and the long-term arrangements for supply and demand of the hydrogen so that the business is sustainable after such a huge investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a very precise comment and acceptable one. May I now I hope Mr. Lalwani is there. Mr. Lalwani.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon. You know that.
Sorry, I'm not able to switch on the video. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know. We
Sorry
have
for
a-
that. Yeah.
There seems to be some bug here, so we are not able to see this. Though we tested it with our own laptop and it came up, but I'm not sure what is happening. Sorry, but please
So,
let me ask you some questions. You know, you are promoting some electrolysis technology you are using. What kind of it you are using? What's the cost of green hydrogen that you are producing? And that what is the hydrogen cost range you are getting? Is this $3.5 to $4.5, or that is it less or more? And of course, you are also blending hydrogen into your CGD pipelines, or at least you propose to do that. And I think so. If your comments on all these, particularly on various modes of transporting hydrogen, would be very useful and enlightening, I'm sure. So please go ahead.
yeah. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Respected Professor Kirit Parikh and respected Professor Jyoti Parikh, and all distinguished speakers and guests. So thanks very much for inviting us, and really I appreciate the very good presentation or whatever the lot of good work you have done in the presentation and in preparation. I've gone through the actually in detail in very much. So I think a lot of good work you guys have done. So thanks for that. So let us start with that. In Torrent, actually, you know, the Torrent is in the business of power generation, transmission, distribution, and we have started the city gas distribution, and our flagship company is the Torrent Pharma. So we are in the business of generation and renewable also. We are almost like a 1.2 gigawatt of operating asset, almost 1 gigawatt of projects under construction, and more than 4 gigawatt of project pipeline is ready. So in the green hydrogen, actually that initiative we have taken in 2020 and 21, because we were part of the value chain. We were already there. We were there in the renewable, and we were there in the city gas distribution, and we started our green hydrogen initiative in 2021. So initially, first we established our strategy, how we'll go at, then capacity building. Then slowly we have started having to secure the supply chain, and so we have started MOUs with electrolyzer suppliers and others. And similarly, we started two projects. One is a pilot project in a CGD system that is in the Gorakhpur, UP. And other study also we have carried out the feasibility study of integrated green hydrogen and green ammonia plant. So I will touch upon two in detail and technical aspect of these two our initiative. First, I will touch upon the pilot project, and I will share that my experiences. Otherwise, whatever the routine things you may be knowing, but I will not. What is my learning or what is our learning? I will share that one. So pilot project we started with the intention that we will be having a 2% blending in the CNG and the PNG network. So that we have identified the Gorakhpur CGD where there was a good flow, and then started designing. So that one designing was going on, but this time we plan to design the plant blending, rather the pilot project in such a way that it should work as a normal plant. It should not be just for the sake of adding gas, hydrogen in the city gas distribution network. So it was a complete designed plant where the control system is fully designed in such a way. The challenge which we face here, you know that in the CGD, the gas flow, the CNG and PNG, both gas flows are varying. At the same time, the renewable is also varying. So now you have two variables. Renewable is varying, and this your gas flow is varying. Accordingly, you have to adjust the current of the rectifier also, and then electrolyzer load also you have to vary, so that you have a constant concentration of hydrogen irrespective of the what is the gas flow. And one more challenge which I experienced was that in the night time when there is no PNG consumption and CNG consumption stop, you are almost like for a couple of hours there is a zero gas flow in the network. So at that time your hydrogen plant should shut down, and within 2 hours it has to again start. So that is, we have again then established a hot standby mode of the pilot project, so that in case the night between 2 to 4 a.m. that when there is a shutdown, there is zero flow, that plant will go into the shutdown and then restart again at 4 a.m. So this hot standby mode, normally it is not provided, but we have now then designed the hot stand mode also. And the next more challenge which you experience, because this fluctuation, and for this project, we have selected alkaline electrolyzer, and alkaline electrolyzer of a 0.5 megawatt, the 500 kilowatt. Now, whenever there is a fluctuation or the variation of the gas flow, you obviously you have to vary the hydrogen production also. When you vary the hydrogen production, what will happen? The load will vary drastically from 100% to maybe close to the turn down point of 30%. But now I think you might have also heard in China a couple of accidents have taken place where there was a gas crossover happened through the diaphragm, and then hydrogen went into the oxygen side, and it has a huge wide range of the explosive range is quite huge, from 4% to 75%. So any minor crossover of the hydrogen towards the oxygen side, towards the anode side of the electrolyzer, there is a possibility there will be explosive mixture will form and lead to a explosion. So all this we have captured. Now the whatever the latest developments are, we have captured in our control system. We have done the appropriate modification in our control system. At the same time, we have installed additional instruments also on the, like on the anode side is oxygen part. We have installed the hydrogen sensor. Normally, generally in the hydrogen production plant, a small plant, this sensor is not provided to sense that one. So all this we have captured, and even the control system also we have seen that we should not come down less than 50% or 40%, and suitably operators should get the alarm. So all the control and protection we design in such a way to take care of this issue of the gas crossover through the diaphragm of alkaline electrolyzer. So these were the two challenges which we experienced. Now I think construction is going on at the moment, and hopefully within 1 month or 1.5 months, we will be commissioning this project. And there are other things are also there, but those are the small, but these are the, I think for the sake of others who are really from the industry, they should take note of this one and consider this in the HAZOP when you are doing the HAZOP of the hydrogen plant, which is very important. And all the good process engineers should participate in the HAZOP, and they should proactively identify all the hazardous conditions so that actually plants should be designed safe and operated safely. Fortunately, actually, before that, in our HAZOP on a similar project, a couple of pilot projects, HAZOP was done. But there were such hazardous conditions were not identified, but we identified, and it is good that these are once learning should be shared with others also, so others can also learn from these things. So this is a one initiative means which is going on at the moment, and hopefully within 1 month or 2 months we are going to commission the plant. Other initiative we have taken is the designing of the integrated green hydrogen and green ammonia plant. That we have identified the location, and based on that, we have designed the solution through we have carried out the feasibility study. Now, in this case, when we are designing the solution, now in this one, you know, there is a renewable, there is a hydrogen production and ammonia production. So this, how to design it and how to get the optimum LCOA, that is levelized cost of ammonia, minimum levelized cost of ammonia. So that was the philosophy or the methodology we have followed in this one. First is the electrical part, that is a renewable part. Renewable hourly generation we have identified for the solar based on the and resources there in the solar and the wind. So we have our hourly generation of the solar and wind. From that, we know that what would be our RE-RTC requirement. So based on the RTC requirement, in this to minimize the cost of LCOA, we have used the over-design approach. Without any storage, we have over-designed both the solar and the wind so that we get the RTC. You know, in this such condition, you can, if you have the multiple of 2.5 to 3, you can get to 80 to 85% of availability of the green hydrogen without a support of storage. But provided you are having a very good site where there are both the wind and the solar resources are complementary to each other. So we have one location where these are complementary. So we got this renewable, and based on the renewable, we have estimated based on RTC requirement, we have calculated what to be configuration, because configuration is very important, configuration of wind and solar. And from that, actually, we have gone into the process design. Process design is very important. Here, we have developed the model here. Model is that one. We have the optimization model to minimize the capex, because you know these projects are the capex driven projects.
Yes, of course.
Capex is driving that one. So in that case, we have developed the model and have that minimum capex where you are getting for the different electrolyzer capacity, for the different storage before that one. And then we have worked out what will be the capacity of the corresponding capacity of the electrolyzer. I have seen in your report also, because when you say 60 gigawatt by 2030, it appears that when you have assumed almost like a 50% capacity utilization. If I'm assuming a specific electricity consumption of 55 kilowatt hour per kg of the hydrogen. But normally the optimum, which this is again I'm sharing, I'm not just finding that, I found that one, that optimum electrolyzer capacity utilization factor, which we get is around 72 to 73%. we designed electrolyzer capacity a little bit higher so that it should take care of the renewable energy. So by this one, we have designed this solution, although it is designed very close to the port so that it can be used, because this solution has to export the ammonia to the outside the India. So this is one thing. As far as electrolyzer technologies are concerned, we have evaluated P.M also. But as you know that one P.M is almost like a $1,400 per kilowatt, and AC is around 700 kilowatts. So for this, having the minimum cost, we have selected AC. But other technology like SOEC, and you said that when that SOEC as well as the AEM, rather the anion exchange membrane model, they are not so proven. Technology readiness is still far away, so that way those two are not chosen. But my other 2-3, if you give me that 2-3 minutes only, that one if I have a 2-3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Lalwani. I think it's just an example of how private sector, like Torrent, of which Mr. Lalwani is the executive director, can really push this whole hydrogen forward. And I think it just shows the creativity and entrepreneurship of Indian private sector. Thank you, Mr. Lalwani.
Thank you very much.
May I now request Professor Pratibha Sharma, who is the head of the Center for Hydrogen Storage at IIT Bombay. Please tell us about status of storage and various technology options in the field of hydrogen storage.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Das, and thank you, Professor Parekh, for such a nice consolidated report. About the storage, as you have also pointed out in your report, that there is a lack of clarity onto what could be the options available. So if I talk about the status, we have to actually consider based on how long you want to store. Like also you have mentioned about the grid flexibility, wherein you can associate storage there, and how much quantity of hydrogen to be stored. So this can be either on a smaller quantity, which could be ongoing on board, or it could be at a place of production, or during the transportation of hydrogen. So there are different technologies currently available and in the globally, and also these are being used. So as rightly mentioned, underground storage is an effective option when you have very large quantities of hydrogen to be stored, and these are not new. The salt carbon based storage or the depleted oil and gas reservoirs, these have been used since past as well. Like one of the example of salt cavern based storage is the Teesside site, which is in UK, and that has been used since 1972, and it is still operational, and that has a pressure of like 445 bar and 210,000 meter cube of volume it can store. So this is like when you have very large quantities being at the point of production or at the point of utilization at the industry where you are going to utilize. This could be option, but then it is highly driven by the availability of such geological structures. So there are only few potential sites currently which are available, which have been identified for such type of storage. So that becomes the biggest challenge in adopting this for at different sites. So the next option when it comes to smaller scale, it is, as we know, is the compressed storage, which is in type 3, type 4 tanks, or the industrial gas tanks, which are at 200 bar. Now these, since we are dealing with high pressures, 350 bar or 700 bar, the entire ecosystem has to be there. If we want to have such storage tanks at place, whether it is on the vehicle or whether it is on the stationary storage places. So there the compressor requirement, which is currently the major bottleneck, the refueling stations, if it is on board on a vehicle, these are the major challenges in terms of storage in the compressed hydrogen form. But these are smaller scale, but even the hydrogen can be transported in this compressed hydrogen form at a pressure of 200 to 500 bars. And this is on a truck wherein you can have about 200 to 1000 kg of hydrogen which can be transported. Like there are hexagon trucks which have lengths of 3 to 12 meters, and these are vertically installed type 4 tanks, wherein there are about 22 to 103 such vertical tanks, and they are able to carry between 240 to 1115 kg of hydrogen at 500 bars. But then type 4 tank, because currently in India we do not have such manufacturing type 3 or type 4 tank. If you go instead of that horizontal bundled cascades, then it is at 250 bars, and our typical trailer could carry 380 kgs of hydrogen. If you move to type 4, then this increases to even 900 kgs of hydrogen. And these are suitable for about 100 to 200 kilometers of such carrying hydrogen. Other than that, you can even have in the form of liquid state storage. Like already at NASA Kennedy Space Centers, we have very good storage facility, and it has been used in space explorations earlier as well. So the liquid state storage tank should be double walled, vacuum insulated. And the recent one, which is like at NASA, it is a very big tank of outer diameter 25 meters. The older one which they have been using was about a volume of 3800 meter cube, and that could store 270 tons. So this is like when it comes to large scale. You can even transport hydrogen and store onto the cryogenic tanks, like the Linde tanks. They are about 13.77 meters and can transport 4000 kgs of hydrogen. So these are the ways in which you can store on compressed form or liquid form, and then you can carry also in those storage vessels. Now the non-conventional, these are the conventional methods, but the non-conventional ones are some of the work like we are also doing at IIT Bombay. These are in the solid state form, where you do not have to, you don't have those challenges of compressing it to very high pressures of 350 MPa or 350 bar or 700 bar. Or you don't have to liquefy to minus 253 degrees centigrade. So these are in solid state form, where there are different materials which take up hydrogen, and then they release subjected to a certain, these are endothermic, exothermic reactions. And we have also demonstrated these utilization for various stationary applications. We have integrated that for backup power and also for a vehicle, showcasing that. So the another method could be either you convert it into the liquid organic hydrogen carriers and then store it or carry it in the form of ammonia or your methanol. But then the challenges that remains is the amount of the energy requirement, as well as whether it is economical or not. But however, if it is large quantity, still that is the better choice. Now in India, we do not have the type 3, type 4 tank, neither manufacturing, neither we have the required regulations, neither we have the test facilities. So it is required that in order that this type of storage could be promoted, these should be there at place. And the government, so I am also a part of the National Hydrogen Mission Advisory Board. So there are now advancements being coming up in each of these areas. Now, as a part of the report, if we can identify, so like this was what are the technologies currently available, but if we can identify what is whether it is 5 million metric tons per annum or 50 million metric tons per annum by 2070 or 2050, so 5 million metric tons by 2030, then what is the percentage of storage which will be required in the different sectors? If that could be identified, then the appropriate technology could be mapped. So that will be, I think, very helpful if you can identify like what will be the order of storage, so that what would be the technology which could be adopted for that storage in that particular sector would be identified in that case, whether it is industrial, whether it is refinery, or whether it is chemical production, whether it is on board. So that is like my submission.
Thank you very much. That's a really very useful suggestion. And we will hope to try to respond to it. May I now, Dr. Anurag Pandey is here. He was to come from abroad. Has he joined?
We don't see him here.
Huh?
He's not here, I think. He has not.
Dr. Pandey from Reliance Industries have not yet arrived. Okay, we might return back to him a little bit later.
Audience by chance.
There was a message I thought, no?
Oh,
Maybe in the participants list, maybe. I can
Sir, I
say.
want to ask.
No, he has a separate link, so
he is not.
he has a
Okay.
separate link, so no.
So
he's
can
not.
may I now request Mr. Subramaniam is the Department of Energy Science and Engineering, IIT Delhi, to.
Yes, sir. Good
Yeah.
afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My voice is audible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, many thanks to Professor Parekh and Dr. Anjana Das and team member for inviting me to this workshop. So morning I discussed with Dr. Anjana Das, called and something regarding load factor. Load factor of electrolyzer is around 0.3. It is understood because your renewable energy, any system take it PV or wind, the capacity factor is around 20 to 30. But the electrolyzer capex will go if you're operating 30% load factor. Suppose 60% increase that, your electrolyzer will off down because your capex will come down. So then if you bring down $1 or nearby $1, then your electrolyzer should operate 60% above and renewable plus grid renewable electricity. Grid also mandatory options. In this case, you can bring down the electrolyzer capacity and capital cost as well as payback period and levelized cost, so on. So that is a one thing I would like to mention here. So 30%. Theoretically, electrolyzer, take it any PEM or alkaline, you need 33.33 kilowatt hour electricity need to produce 1 kg of hydrogen. But actually, theoretical maximum will be 83%. In this case, 40 kilowatt hour electricity needing that. But today's electrolyzer around 50 unit, best efficiency, if 2 rupees of electricity per unit power, that your working cost itself 100 rupees. That means more than $1. So now this 100% electricity based electrolyzer is one option nearby. But in long run, steam electrolysis process, you can reduce the electricity input and increase the thermal energy. Then somewhere you can match it, this possibility of $1 or $1.5 per kg of hydrogen. This is one. And this discussion put out the electrolyzer is limitations. This is need anyway, but towards net zero and negative emissions. Then these limitations, especially the green hydrogen, needs renewable energy system with energy storage. Energy storage included, then again cost will increase. Then bioenergy based biohydrogen is another, maybe it may not be scope of this project, that will open up the door that no need of any energy storage. Biomass available, whenever need you can generate based on demand. That is one submission. Biohydrogen is another one. Another one wondering that your projection, whatever 2070 renewable, and somewhere we need base load demand, either nuclear or coal-based power plant with the CCS. We thought that renewable cannot function. Renewable is a top-up. So at any point of base load, shall need either nuclear or coal with the CCS. That also may be taken for projection till 2070. It's a debate whether blue hydrogen will be allowed or not. But the actual scenario, that is the inevitable, that plays another major role. Next comes to electrolysis last point, the critical materials, the materials. If you take alkaline, the material majorly, this is the nickel, anode cathode. The membrane cost is not that much, it's ion transport from cathode to anode. Remaining bipolar plate and other things can be adjusted with available sources, but only nickel. But the drawback of the alkaline electrolyzer is the current density is limited. Current density 0.5. ampere per centimeter square. That means the size of the electrolyzer is a big problem. If you go PEM, current density you can operate 0.7, 0.8, means bulk will not be there. You can compact size, but the same problem PEM need a platinum or iridium. They're again catalyst. So the war between PEM and alkaline, this is the nickel versus platinum iridium. So this both will there, which is the winner? Platinum iridium will be affordable price, or nickel will be affordable price, or any breakthrough happening that alternative material to the platinum or iridium or nickel, that is a game changer. These are the some of the views I expressed to you that, and also the $1 per kg of DOE targets. But we are thinking on the export to the Europe and other countries. We had achieved $1. I have seen your projection. $1 can be achieved at the year of 2070. But is it possible accelerated to achieve even 2035 or even earlier by means of some other? It could be beneficial to our country as well as export market, because those are doing. Yeah, these are some few observations I want to submit here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Subramanian. May I now request, is Professor Anil Verma there?
No, he's not
No,
there.
he's
He
not.
has some medical emergency.
So may I now request Mr. Rajan Varshne, Deputy General Manager of NTPC, to say what they are doing about hydrogen. And
so I would first appreciate a lot of effort has been done in the report, but I would like to submit my views, not NTPC views, on this hydrogen and the 24/7 required. First of all, Mr. Subramaniam has given very good thought process, and I may add that I have certain quotations where entrepreneurs or companies are ready to bring their money and provide hydrogen at less than $1 even today.
I see.
But we are not considering them, and we are not having an ecosystem where these companies can come up and do it. Now,
Is this green hydrogen?
Sir, actually it is green, and it is covered under the green definition also. But another submission is, if I have hydrogen which is less than 2 kg CO2 equivalent per kg of this hydrogen generated, or maybe even negative, -10 or -20 even. But if it is through some other method, whether the input is natural gas or biomethane, waste to biomethane or something, it should be allowed, and it is covered under the definition also. But the narrative has been in the report has been only the electrolyzer based hydrogen. If you see in the GH2 definition of MNRE, the last 3 words are from biomass source. If you see the definition, it is given there, and in the quotations also, which were like bids which have been awarded, one bid in the bucket 2 has been awarded for biomass to hydrogen. So these things may need to be incorporated to make the result more comprehensive, more report comprehensive. Then regarding 24/7 RE power, this is very much feasible. More than 7,500 megawatt CSP is installed, and some of it has thermal storage. Without battery, without coal, we can get 24/7 power. Today, the coal-based power capex is around 8 to 9 crore per megawatt. And with the CSP, we can even get at a decent scale, around 15 crore per megawatt, or even lesser also. There are other techniques also through which we can add heat to the storage medium, not only sun. So if we get new capacities at, say, coal-based power at 6 rupees, out of that 3 to 4 rupees is coal only. That part is straight away cut off. then coal-based plant is coming for 25 years life. These CSP plants have more than 70, 80 years life. Glass remains glass, doesn't corrode. It is an inert material. It is a super cool liquid. You can remelt it and form glass. It doesn't have any resources challenge or anything on Earth also, and totally renewable. It has least embedded carbon per unit of electricity generated. What PV has been discussed and combining it with battery or wind or whatever, PV has a embedded carbon of around 50 gram per unit of electricity generated. So if we consider cradle to grave, PV electricity will not be able to give you green or 2 kg definition of there. If we consider cradle to grave, but in this definition, it has not been considered, but EU considers cradle to grave. So we are talking of exporting where we'll be able to export that way.
What about the amount, volume? How can you do thousands of tons?
Yeah. With waste, we can produce hydrogen near the point of use at that rate, less than $1. With the electrolyzer, you are producing somewhere, you are transmitting electricity from somewhere, then you are transporting that hydrogen also somewhere. And that hydrogen you have also mentioned in your report, some dollars per unit cost. So that cost is straight away cut off. And country has waste of around 400 tons, million tons minimum per year. It is more than 800 or maybe much more, because we can have all like wet waste, sewage sludge, poultry waste, slaughterhouse waste, agro waste. Then there can be energy crops also, and many other types of waste which are biological. And if we are not trapping those things for methane, they are in any way emanating to the atmosphere. And we are trying to control climate change or combat climate change or reduce that temperature rise trajectory. Methane has 84 times more GHG potential than CO2, what we are controlling, trying to control over. So if we control that and use it to produce hydrogen or some other thing, which is least carbon intensive in energy generation or other applications, maybe as feedstock, maybe as energy storage, maybe as reduction agent or whatever. So, and it will definitely control that CO2, that GHG emission through methane. Also, it will additionally control the water resources which get deteriorated due to leachate and other things. And these landfill sites, so costly. You see, Delhi landfill sites, each site will be, if we clear it, land will be sold for 25,000 crores. And if we are not able to use those sites for creating our methane or hydrogen, which methane we are importing as gas, or petrol we are importing. So these things we are keeping them idle. And all the reports, all direct narratives are like hydrogen, water, electrolyzer, all things are important. Whatever is here and indigenous technologies are available, these are not getting right prominence.
I mean, if you're talking about CSP, I'm
I
delighted.
have just now, to start that CSP, I have just covered the other part, the hydrogen, how you are getting to without using electricity.
Right.
Okay, now आप बता दीजिए क्या बोल रहे थे CSP का?
No, I'm pleased because in the Integrated Energy Policy Report of 2005, we were much more optimistic about CSP than PV. But the dramatic fall in the cost of PV had really put CSP on the background.
Okay, sir, I will put my views on that also.
Yeah, but now that you're talking about 24/7 electricity from this, then CSP gets another look and can be very, very useful to have it.
So here
But it would also require land. that is really not any different than PV in some sense, unless that.
So let me put my views on this also. I had started with CSP, then converted to waste, and that hydrogen is cheapest. With CSP also we can have cheaper hydrogen through electrolysis, but CSP has other properties also. We can have a temperature of 3000 degrees centigrade also through concentrated solar. And it has been running since 10 years in US.
CSP cost $5,000 to $6,000 per kilowatt. Whereas PV has come down, okay, sometime 2013, 14, lot of, interest was
No,
on.
there is some
CSP.
discrepancy in that.
So I visited also one in Egypt. So US put two plant in their desert region. So Spain also built a couple of CSP power plants. So interest was very high that time.
Okay.
I visited one.
Okay, let me add, what you are saying
But
is
the
long
thing is,
back.
then capex is something like 6,000, almost
Yeah, but-
close to nuclear,
But
Whereas availability factor is about 40-45%, slightly more than.
let's listen to Mr. Vath.
If required, I can do a presentation also 5 minutes, but let me just speak out. Presentation will not
Yeah.
give that words. In last 10 years, CSP cost has decreased by more than 80%. Okay, and this is because the time you were saying, and then the Nehru mission that came in 2010-11, both the technologies were given equal platform.
That's right.
What was the platform, but where the policy did not support the hidden advantage or the inherent advantage of CSP, that was both were given 3 years. PV was in any case a technology which could be installed in 6 months also. Maybe 3 years was sufficient. I don't say they were very high, but they were sufficient. And this CSP was at that time in the world, like Madam also said, this was like 500 to 700 megawatts total capacity installed across the world. And there was no big plant also. Then these these companies which won the bid, they were told or written condition was both are equal, no storage PPA will be given. Even till today, they are not offering storage.
I know, I think these were some problems afterwards.
So, no, but the thing is, that at that time, those companies installed the plant at 10 crore per megawatt. They were forced to run because of the PPA conditions at 17% CUF. Daily they have to shut down the plant, daily they have to heat the medium and then generate electricity.
Let's not go into the postmortem. What should
No,
we
no,
do
no,
now?
I'm not going to postmortem, but what I'm saying is 3 years was not the right time and the policy was not right for
Correct.
that. So, but even at that stage, at very low prominence of the CSP at that time, this bid was 12 rupees 20 paisa and the PV bid was how much? 17 rupees. So I don't have to say, but those bids were called again and again, and this bid was never called. So at that time also, if you had given him the CUF of 100%, he would have quoted 5 rupees or 4 rupees. But now the circle has turned back. Now the prices were increased, and now with the industrialization and more than 7,500 capacity across the world available running, and 2,500 under various stages of erection, and 5,000 under pipeline in tendering. The costs have come down, and it is now around 12 to 15 crore per megawatt. And the best part is you can hybridize it with PV and wind, and you can get a cost of less than 3 rupees per unit without battery, without coal, and run your electrolyzer at 100% CUF. But reports don't mention all this. Although recent Terry report and CA report has shown some scope for CSP. And I had done a conference on 12th and 13th. Recently, more than 57 sessions were there. And you will be surprised, the people were there available, 500 people, more than 500 online and more than 150 physically. They were available even after the conference finished on the second day. 7 p.m. was the dinner time, but networking happened till 8:30. So people have interest, people have quoted with their BOO basis, power at rupees 4 or around that, but there is no tender. So money is not the problem, hydrogen cost is not the problem. The problem is the enabling infrastructure has to come from various initiatives, which will shortly come. Let me assure you, a lot of effort is going on, and
Now
things
there
will
is
better.
CSP
Things will be better.
CSP targets are there.
Yes, only last month these targets have come up.
Yeah.
But I've been initiating it for last 3 years, and now the all alignment is there. Very soon some tenders will also be out, and people are ready to quote. Similarly, for waste to hydrogen also, if some tenders come, people are ready.
Yeah.
And these regarding electric buses, which Ajay Yadav also said, you are creating pollution elsewhere and saying that this is clean. So if you do it from waste to hydrogen, you get carbon negative hydrogen and your cleaner buses without any import. No import of chemicals, chemicals as well as this your cadmium, nickel, rare earths. Similarly, one more point. In the electrolyzers, you have skipped SOEC and AEM. But PAM electrolyzer has, you have also mentioned the material requirements, which are imported. AEM doesn't use or uses very little rare earths for PGM materials. And the cost is less than 4 crore per megawatt. So if you use 24/7 power from CSP or whatever way, the grid should give 24/7 power. Like in Singapore, if you see, there is only one water, whether it is sewage or drinking or whatever. The quality is same. So that water is at a low rate. Similarly, this power should be at low rate. Everybody is free to use. Why a person should or company should install captive power and then wait for if it is to be imported from the grid, they have to pay this much. If they are making themselves, they are paying this much because they are having small capacity. So why not make it same for everybody?
But what I see from the paper and reports, one has TRL, technology readiness level about 6 to 7, another is 4 and 5, 4 to 5. This SOEC, solid oxide, and this onion. So that's what I see from the.
But have you seen how much capacity Bloom has installed across the world? SOEC electrolyzers?
They say, I mean, I follow IEA also, International Energy Agency, it gives a world review. They don't say any, some maybe pilot scale, something is working, but they don't say, they don't talk about any SOEC and.
Okay, don't take my word, you search yourself. How much Bloom company has stored, has installed across the world? How many data centers they are catering 24/7 power through SOEC? And just let you don't keep my word. You see what you are seeing through research. Don't go by IAA report or whatever report. You go by yourself. No, again, I'm saying your report will also be there tomorrow, and they will say IRADe report doesn't say anything about, and rather it says that don't use AEM and SOEC.
Let's write one more later.
So yeah, so I'm not.
We will incorporate some of these suggestions.
So one more
in the
point is there.
finalizing the
Very important point is there. If we use HHO electrolyzer, this is called oxyhydrogen brown gas. When we have to burn hydrogen, maybe in vehicles, maybe in co-firing the coal plants or natural gas plants, or wherever in the cement, steel, aluminum, wherever we are doing that, if we put that gas again with the co-fire with the fossil, whatever we are using, we have hydrogen as well as oxygen, and in that only ratio can vary. Maybe 1 or 2 units of electricity gives us that much heat energy or abates that much coal or natural gas, which our 60 units of electrolyzer hydrogen is giving. That much heat, 33,000 kilocalorie. That heat is coming out from equivalent to 2-3 units of electricity, maybe 1 unit also. So when we have to burn or co-fire, what is the need to first put H2O2 separately, then use the membrane, which is again PFAS membrane in PEM, which is going to be banned shortly. Or PFAS chemicals are very much
But
under
also-
limelight.
We have to depend on what is published and available in the literature. So
But we are talking of
somebody has
2050
written-
and
no, if somebody has written something and given all
Sir, I'll
these
take 2
facts.
minutes.
Yeah,
to,
please go.
Say something.
This is
That is-
Chaitra, I've been here and meeting you all is a pleasure. And I'm a keen observer of this industry. I come from hardcore power generation background. We are the ones who have been making the equipment and supplying to NTPC to run it. And they have been running it, right? There was a time we were talking about coal-fired power plants. You have seen many UMPPs coming. Lot of condition to do local manufacturing. And then suddenly, we all gone in the, renewable energy. And the country is full of gas, country is full of hydrogen. Everybody is a chemist in this country. Everybody understands everything. But unfortunately, this country is not manufacturing anything. There is no R&D, all lip service. I can quote R.V. Sai saying once in one of the forums. He said that 30 years back, we discussed about IGCC.
I think
And we all felt
meeting-
IGCC is not suitable for Indian coal, but again, we are discussing. So here, what is happening, and youngsters are grossly confused with all these policies, many overlapping technologies. We are talking about hydrogen. At the same time, we are bringing the PLI for the advanced chemistry cell also.
I think
Are
we
we not-
close this meeting and we'll discuss this.
No, Parikh Saab, it is an opportunity
Yes, sir.
for you and madam to meet you.
Right.
For me, it's a lifetime,
Please go ahead.
opportunity
Yeah.
to say something. Otherwise, what is happening? We are all burning our own fuel and burning our own power. It's always good. You give freedom. Varsane Saab, let him make HHO. I have not seen what is HHO. I mean, something which we do not know. We are only quoting Japan, we are quoting Singapore, UK. Are they quoting us? I was traveling all over the world. Nobody talks about us. And our everything is around, sir, 1 minute.
We are Vishwa Guru.
Yeah, we are only teaching, lip service. I mean, we are not making anything. China is the biggest beneficiary of whatever we are doing today. Through Canada route, any route you want, they are there to, take business from you. And they are doing a great work. We are all learning from them. We are reading, and sorry to say, including our ministers, our bureaucrats.
I think
Recording.
we-
No, ठीक है, मैं कह रहा हूँ कि, but there has to be a control. Otherwise,
we have to-
our battery business will be killed.
Let's hear after.
Hydrogen is okay, but then what will happen to the large battery business? Because they are also going to be used for the same application. So there has to be a control from the government side that not many overlapping technologies. We will have many NPAs in future. That is a worry point. So this is all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much.
We need some technical discussion.
You had some questions?
And,
All answered.
Mm, we can have
Okay,
it.
thank you all. It was one very, very constructive comments have been made. And as I said, I'm sure we will incorporate some of these at least, if not all, and revise the report and finalize it on that basis.
Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
very much, for all of you for being here, and we would certainly send you the proceedings or.
Proceedings.
Doesn't matter.
The report is already written, but we would.
Doesn't matter.
And we are sorry we are not able to answer some of those questions. When you send us, we have this. Can we reply to you and maybe to everybody who sees, we will reply to this. Paper. We will not forget. Thank you. Yes.